where every week I have a conversation with a prominent Black cannabis executive that I feel like is making positive progress in the space and giving more Black people inspiration and opportunities to come into the space. This week I have with me Ms. Vetra Stevens of First Quality Medz. And she's one of the few people of color who are operating in the state of Michigan. So I'm really excited to have you on to share your perspective of how to find success in a new emerging state.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so it's a real honor. So before we jump into the cannabis conversation, I would love to get a background of your professional career prior to cannabis.
Background is in marketing, advertising and marketing. So my partner and I, we had a company and we did all of the advertising and marketing for our transit in the city of Detroit, which is known as the Detroit People Mover. Handled all the corporate marketing, ads and things like that for them. And also for the county, which is Wayne County, the largest county in the state of Michigan. We did the advertising, marketing, and different things for them as well. So that's the type of business. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's amazing. So what kind of was the catalyst for you to say, okay, the cannabis industry is serious, it's an opportunity for me to really grow my business? And what made you kind of take it seriously? Because a lot of people talk about wanting to jump into cannabis, but very few people actually make that transition.
So what kind of drew me to that, to this industry, I should say, was because I had an illness, lupus, which is an autoimmune disorder, and was introduced to something called Rick Simpson oil, RSO. I don't know if you're familiar with that. My partner and I, at the time he was suffering from stage 4 cancer, and myself with lupus, which is a chronic disease. We were both introduced to that and found out the properties that it had, how great it was, and how it could help so many different people that were suffering like myself, like my business partner. And we just kind of wanted to kind of venture off into this industry and speak to people kind of like us.
So as someone who had kind of a patient relationship with the plant, and you've been able to see first and second hand the benefits of it, what's your perspective as someone who sees that part of it, but also sees how kind of it's been criminalized and how it's so negatively affected our community over the years? Like how has that kind of changed your perspective of cannabis?
Oh, it most certainly changed my perspective because I was one of those people that felt like there was a certain group that used cannabis. But to my surprise, when having to venture off into that myself and getting an understanding, then I kind of felt compelled to find a place, open up a place, and speak to people that were suffering just like me with all kinds of ailments. So, and I wanted to kind of get people to understand that what we were thinking before is totally different. And it was a challenge. You know, I was thinking that maybe my church family would not accept that well, but I kind of I took a step back, spoke to God about it, got confirmation, I got moving, and and that's what I'm here for right now is to kind of speak about this plan and get people to understand that opioid is not the answer. You can be out of pain and be okay without side effects. You can be out of pain and stress. You can, anyone that's suffering from arthritis and things like that, Alzheimer's and seizures and, all of those things that so many of us suffer from. We don't necessarily have to take an opioid and be out of the game. And, we can use cannabis and still be functional.
That's beautiful. You spoke on something about the moment you kind of made your mind up to become a businesswoman in this space, and a lot of people, I know you're probably posed with the question a lot, as I am also, but people don't understand the process around getting licensed and how arduous that process is and how costly it could be. What was kind of the timeline and just kind of the lift that you had to be able to overcome to even get licensed?
Um, Quite challenging, quite challenging. I would say to anyone that's interested in getting in this business, you better have some passion for this plant because it will be a headache. There's a lot of steps, a lot of background checks. a lot of cash that you have to have on hand. They check your bank account. You have to have over $375,000 in the bank waiting. And you have to have a reason why you have it there. And it better be something business related. So if you had to raise capitals, because some people had to raise capital, where did you get it from? And did those companies, were those reputable companies? So the state, the MRA didn't play. And you have to understand that and know that. The one thing that for me, I just felt like I need to push forward, find out what I need to find out, and get to the finish line per se. And I thought I was at the finish line at the first facility, and then had the second facility, and now the third. But right now I'm at the point where I'm collecting information so that I can reach back and share that information. We have my marketing team has a campaign starting called Ask Vitra, and it's the general public that's asking questions just like you are. What do I need to know to do this? Or from one extreme to the next, how do you test products? Whatever it is. And I let them speak to the general public, find out those questions, and try to answer them the best way I can.
Okay, and a personal question I have, most people I have conversations with and have relationships with in cannabis through my company are either East Coast or West Coast based, right? And on the West Coast, it's more like the brands are more like lifestyle, culture, whereas on the East Coast, because it's a primarily medical coast, it's more like health and wellness. Kind of what's the brand positioning, and how do you kind of relate to the consumer in the Midwest as a cannabis company?
Well, you got to kind of be a chameleon in this industry because you're going to have all walks of life. You're going to have that group of people that's looking for health and wellness, and you have to be able to give them what they're looking for. And at the same time, you're going to have that culture group that's interested in it on another level. So you just have to be able to, have products for both sides of the fence. Fortunately, I am coming out with a product line I'm very excited about. It's called the V Effect, and we'll be launching that first of next month, March 1st of next month. So hopefully everyone out there can kind of look for that. It's called the V Effect. And since we have a grow facility and we have a processing facility now, along with a provisioning center, I can say for certainty that I saw that from one small bud all the way to a grown plant, extracted into a product, and product brought to that shelf. And I can say personally that I know that that's quality product that's been tested and proven, and it's very safe, and I can put my own stamp on that. And I believe that we're going to be the first African American female to bring a product line, a brand to the state of Michigan. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, that's super exciting. I also want you to touch on, you mentioned it a little bit, but like what are some of the benefits of having control over more parts of the supply chain? Because a lot of people, they think, oh, I just want a dispensary, or oh, I just want to grow. And then you kind of have to leave other parts of the process to chance or hoping you have good relationships. What's the benefits of being able to, the benefits and burden of being able to internalize that?
Um, there's definitely a benefit because the market changes every day. So you have to be ready to accept those changes. And if you only have a provisioning center, which is a dispensary, if you only have a provisioning center, then you can't control whether you have product available. If the market says that there's a drought, then there's a drought. If they don't have certain items, as far as processed items, as far as cartridges and edibles, topicals, and things like that, if you don't have them to bring it into your facility, then you have to wait for the market to make those adjustments. And also, the price fluctuates. And, when it comes to being in a provisioning center, you have to consider your overhead. You're considering your overhead. When those prices go up, your prices have to go up too to the consumer. And I'm an advocate for the consumer first and foremost. So I just, as of right now, we have our product that we grew is probably the most inexpensive product that we have on the shelf. I mean, extremely. I mean, it's a big difference, a major jump, because I don't have to have that middleman when it comes to bringing that flower into my facility. So why am I going to, I could price it up just like the rest of them, but would I be doing any service to the community that's coming in to help service, our facility? That wouldn't be fair. So there is an advantage to be able to give back to the people in that way.
Okay, and then forgive me for not being super educated on the Michigan market, right? Because uh, I think the Midwest is going to be a huge factor on in how cannabis develops nationally, right? But what are some of the patterns you're seeing? Because a lot of times people only think about like just flower, right? I want to sell flower, but do you see like a benefit to having like edibles, topicals, a more varied product line to where people can choose from and become educated about as they come into your location?
Oh, absolutely. Our team, our bud tenders, are very well educated on our product line, and we have everything from one extreme to the next. You can get cartridges and edibles, topicals, tinctures. You can get whatever you need from whatever group that you're looking at. And that's one of the other reasons why we decided to start a product line, is so that we can have control to say, okay, here's a topical that I know for sure works very well. One of the things that I use is topicals. That's what I use. My girls, they laugh at me because they say I'm a square because I can't handle, the rest of the stuff, but that's okay. I'll be the square, but I'll take the topical, which is CBD, THC 1-to-1, and rub those on my hands. Joint pain. I don't know if you're familiar with lupus. This kind of like an arthritis. So I rub that on my hands and the pain is gone. Helps to relax me at the end of the night. So products like that, we make sure that the staff is educated on those things. When you see a little old lady that's coming in, little church lady, and say, my doctor said to come in, what can you help me with? They know to give her, some extra attention, let her understand what's happening. She's not going to go out with a pre-roll. She'll probably go out with a tincture that you can squeeze into your cup of coffee and, still be pain-free. So understanding the product, understanding the education of that product, and then understanding the customer, that's everything.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Just having this conversation with you, I realize obviously that you're great at what you do, and it's weird to think that
Thank
you're a
you.
pioneer in like 2021, right? Like as a Black woman operating a legal cannabis company, you're kind of like a unicorn. We've probably done 30 episodes, and I probably have had maybe 3 conversations with women like yourself. Hope Wiseman in Maryland, she owns a dispensary, and I think you two may be the only two. How does it feel? Like, do you feel like a burden or a responsibility as a Black woman to kind of, obviously we know talent is everywhere, regardless like the demographic or sex. But do you feel like a responsibility as a Black woman to show that that more women deserve to be in the space where you are?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In the beginning of this, it was just a handful of us going down to Lansing and fighting against the rules and regulations and saying what needs to change and all of those things. But I was the only one that looked like me in the room, male, female, what have you. I was the only one there like that, but I knew that, I had to speak to this industry on my level of it and be heard. So with breaking down those barriers, you have to think back and say, I don't want to let anyone down. So you have to push forward and understand that somebody is going to follow your tracks. Somebody is going, because you're going to reach back and say to them what you did. So I'll take the bumps and the bruises and all of the upsets and, ups and downs, and fight the people that, may not be understanding how this should flow well. I'm okay with that. But at the end of the day, I know that when someone is speaking to me about how this is going and things like that, I feel good about knowing what I'm talking about because I've been through this war and it has been that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I say it all the time. Like it's such a new and infantile market that almost none of us know what we're doing, and a lot of times it makes it difficult for all of us, right? So my question is like, okay, you going through this process, your information is really valuable. And I was having a conversation last week with Candace Clark, who's an advocate in Illinois, when she was talking about how the program in the state of Illinois failed Black people because no Black people got licenses, right? So as someone who went through the process, who's in a new state, like what would you like to see moving forward in like these new states or even federally that kind of ensures that that doesn't happen again and more people like you do actually win licenses?
Yeah, I think some of the states started out with the social equity programs. Not all the states did that. I think if we execute those well, then the rest of the states can take a look at that and move those on to the states, just like we did with Colorado and California, Las Vegas, things like that. What you do is you take what's working, you leave what's not, and you just kind of mold it to what it needs to be. I'm working with some people to kind of help shape the social equity program here in Michigan, and so that it can be something that can be modeled for another state or in the future, so that no one is left behind. Everyone is understanding of what this entails. And that's basically it, is understanding first. A lot of people want to be in this industry, but don't even know what to do. What's the first step? Who do I call? Where do I find information out? So I'd like to be that person to say, let me help you. Let me talk to you. And I may talk to some people to say, never mind. No, thank you. I'm not interested. And that's fine too. But you have to know what you need to know, decide whether you want to go, move forward. When you see in the news and you see this is $1 billion industry, it's a very lucrative industry. That's true. But you better have some passion in this industry before you get started, because it can be quite challenging on every level.
Yes, and this question may rub some people the wrong way, but I feel like it has to be addressed. So not everyone's going to be able to be a Vitra, right? A dispensary owner. Can you talk to the opportunities around cannabis that where you don't necessarily have to be plant touching because there's just as much money there as there is in cannabis? Because I tell people if you just say, oh, I want to own a dispensary or I want to own a grow, that may be a lazy answer if you haven't done your due diligence and figure out what other opportunities are in the space. So if you have something to the viewers, just to let them know that you don't have to own a dispensary, you can make $1 million in cannabis in other ways.
That's so true. I get people that talk to me all the time and say, hey, let me invest in your business, or let's talk about, oh, I want to get one too. and and it just kind of lets you know, that people don't really understand. But just like you said, there are different ways to be a part of this industry that you can grow into something that can be very lucrative for you. And that's one of the things that I was touching on regarding the social equity program. They put together programs, 12 different programs here in the state of Michigan, and you can take a look at those, the outline of those programs, and see which one, fits your needs. And some of those programs are, you can be a transporter, you can have a small, like a mini provisioning center. So different programs, and you can look at those things and see what it entails and kind of decide, is this something I want to jump into? Is this something, do I have enough for this to be able to do that? Do I have enough capital to be able to do that? And those funds are on a different level, much, much, much smaller level. So it's much easier, slower process, much easier to get in on the ground level, but you can definitely grow it into a nice income.
True, I agree 100%. And I tell people, whatever talent you have, it can transition into cannabis, whether that's graphic design, security, marketing, public relations, whatever you do is needed in cannabis also. But I definitely appreciate this conversation. You're the first person I've had a really at-length conversation with about Michigan. So knowing there's someone like you there, I feel good
Mhm.
about Michigan now. I would love for you to leave our
Nice.
viewers with where they could follow you and your company on social media if they want to reach out to you directly or if they have any questions following this.
Okay. So you can find me at vitrastevens.com. That's Vetra STEPHENS.com. And so we have so many of them. FirstQualityMedz.com, that's the provisioning center. We've got the VEffect.com, and that's our product line that's coming soon. We've got a vitamin shop called Pure Life Gardens. But you can find all of those things once you enter into VitraStevens.com. You can click on some of those things and kind of follow, what we're up to and where we're going with things. But yeah, I hope people follow us up and get that product when it comes out.
And what's your location in Michigan, just in case our viewers are close to where you are, if they wanted to come pay you a visit?
We're at 286 Burke Street, River Rouge, Michigan. Yeah. So come and see us. I'm here now. Yeah.
Always at work. Well, thank you so much, Vitra. I definitely appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing more about your progress.
Thank you so much. And I love what you're doing. This is great. Hats off to you, and I hope you continue what you're doing. And any way I can help you, please reach out.
Thank you so much.